Hey, Husker fans, Sam McKewon with the Omaha World-Herald and Husker Extra. This is the three things to watch on defense for the Nebraska spring game. Okay, it's going to be an interesting one, I think. Nebraska has some answers on defense already, right? Their defensive line could be one of the 10 best in the country, and that's not an exaggeration or hyperbole. I also don't know that a lot of those guys are going to play in the spring game, and that means Ty Robinson, Nash Huntmaker, Jamari Butler, who I thought took a step last year and probably is one of those top tier players on that defensive line. May not see a ton of him. Don't know if we'll see a ton of MJ Sherman, who I think has established himself as one of the top Jack guys. I think there's some guys that are probably going to sit things out and process through and, watch the game from the sideline. But I think there's also going to be some young guys who play as well. Here's where I want to start when we talk about the three things that we're looking for. So first of all, I just want to see how Nebraska's pass rush functions against Nebraska's offensive line. And they're not going to show a lot of exotic stuff. It's probably going to be four-man pass rush. And you're just always watching to see what folks can do. Is Cam Lenhart going to play in it? I don't know that he needs to, but if he's out there, how does he push the pocket? Some of these other young guys that we probably will see, how do they push the pocket? What kind of work do they do against offensive lines? It'll be a little bit of mix and match there. I'll be intrigued to see how some of these players fit in, whether they got a guy that can get around the corner, not just a guy that, can get into the breastplate of the pads of an offensive lineman and push him back into the quarterback. That's always a good quality. But sometimes you have to be able to get around a guy too. And I'll be intrigued to see if Nebraska has developed in that area. I feel like they were missing that a little bit last year. Lenhart's got great technique. I do want to see him try to get around somebody. I do think Prince Walt Umanyalan has that, but he's been a little banged up, and I'd be surprised if he gets out. Now, if they're as vanilla as Matt Rule says they're going to be, then they're probably not going to do a ton of middle linebacker blitzing, and that's something that Tony White likes to do. So he'll bring a Chief Borders, or he'll bring an MJ Sherman, or he would, he used to bring Luke Reimer. I assume that player is going to be John Bullock now, where you're just kind of coming up the middle and you're bringing some different pressure packages because you want to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands. Whether you get to the quarterback or not, you want to get the ball out of his hands so that he's not able to make a full progression through the defense. And so, just how do they get to the quarterback? How do they put the pass rush together? Is the pass rush successful? Remember, there might not be an offense in the country that knows Tony White's defense better than Nebraska. So they have some answers that maybe some other schools won't have. So I don't know how often they'll be getting to the pocket. Remember, too, they get touch sacks because I think the quarterbacks will be wearing the green jersey. And so you're going to have some of these goofy touch sacks that you would never see in the regular season. But I think that's just something to keep in mind. Next thing I want people to watch is for those young corners, and specifically those young corners. I think that Nebraska is going to have pretty good safety play, no matter who they put back there. And remember, Nebraska in White's system can have a 3-safety system where they have a split safety and then they have a, safeties to one other side of the split guy. So sometimes they'll split the field in thirds, and the split guy is usually Isaac Gifford, but he can kind of move wherever you need him to move. And then you've got Marquise Buford back there, and then they claim they're going to put Malcolm Hartzog back there. They're committed to that, and that's fine. I'll be curious to see how the corners do. So you've got Tommy Hill, and I feel like he's going to be a starter. I think they feel really good about where he's at. His talent definitely is there. And then you have who? That's the question. Bly Hill? Maybe Bly Hill. He's the transfer in from the small school out of PA, and he could be the guy. St. Francis transfer from FCS. Certainly has the measurable, 6'2", probably 195, long guy. Anytime you get a really long corner, and they haven't had a ton of them, but anytime you get a really long corner, they can run with deep balls. It's hard to throw the ball over them because they're like receivers. What you always watch for sometimes with the long corners is how do they do in short area? Can a guy, get off the line against them? Can a wide receiver get into a tall guy's pads and, kind of push him off and then, turn inside and get a quick turning looking route? Can a corner like that get shaken? Yak, right? Yards after catch. Let's say a quick throw is made out to Demetrius Bell, and it's Bell and Bly Hill, and not really in a phone booth, but actually out in open space. Is Bly Hill able to make that play? Same goes for Mario Buford, although Mario Buford's not a tall guy. He's kind of prototypical size, maybe 5'11". And I've heard good things about Mario Buford. That was true of him before he even got there. He's an elite recruit. I think he ended up being a 4-star, but I don't know. Guys don't move up a lot once they get sort of their rating. But I think Mario Buford's a top 200 recruit in the country, and I think he's going to be really good at Nebraska. So I'm sure he'll get a look. Dwight Boodle, who's also undersized, right? Kind of like his older brother. But again, sometimes when a guy's a smaller corner, the one thing they can do is they can really get physical with you. They can jam you. They can kind of play larger than their height because they can get physical, get into a wide receiver's, shoulder pads and just do what they want to do. The harder thing anytime with a shorter corner is just over the top, right? So Malcolm Hartzog in his career has been beat a couple of times over the top, not because he wasn't in phase or didn't have good coverage, just because he's 5'9", and that just happens sometimes. Some of the best corners, obviously, in NFL history have been 5'9", but it can be a challenge sometimes. So Boodle, Buford, Blyhill, Ethan Nation is another one to watch. I really liked his tape when he signed in 2023. I'd put him almost right there skill set wise with Buford. Ethan Nation is one you cannot overlook. So those will be guys to watch. I think that's going to be kind of an intriguing conversation. Last group is linebacker, and specifically middle linebacker. I think they're going to have answers, guys at the jack position. Whether you want to say Jamari Butler becomes that jack, he isn't really. He's kind of a defensive end, or was for a lot of the season, but Jamari Butler can do it. Princewill Umanyalan can do it. MJ Sherman can do it. We've heard good things about Chief Borders camp. Chief Borders can do it. I think they've done a really nice job of recruiting that position. Mav Newton can probably do it. He's a little young, but he can probably do it. They've been good. They're good there. I think they're always going to have a plan and a vision for that particular position. And I liked the way that they used that position last year to kind of free up and make some plays. And can they get better there? Sure. You always want a Micah Parsons style talent there. That would be preferable. But, I think they're going to be pretty good there. And I think they're going to be consistent. At the middle linebacker spot, you have Bullock coming back. And of course, he's just really, really good at pursuing the ball and being fearless. Not the tallest guy, not the thickest guy, but he does a lot of things well. Who's going to be opposite him, though? Stephon Thompson. Is it going to be Mekhi Bayer? Is it going to be Dylan Rogers, who we've heard good things about? Bullock is a little bit of an outlier in his size. He's a little bit smaller than maybe some of the other guys. The other guys are pretty big. I mean, Thompson's a pretty big guy. Dylan Rogers is a house. I mean, if he's able to run like that at 235 or whatever he is as an off-the-ball linebacker, that's really good news for Nebraska, because they want their off-the-ball linebackers to run. And they want them to be fluid and athletic, because they're the guys that are oftentimes making plays. And so we'll see how that goes. I mean, what you're always looking for, the best that they've ever had an off-ball linebacker in last, I don't know, actually maybe ever, is Levante David. I don't know that they've ever had a better middle linebacker or off-the-ball linebacker than Levante. And he's still that in the NFL. So Levante could do a million different things, right? He could cover, he could do this, he could play in the box, he could do all these other things. But the thing that Levante David was really damn good at was when that ball went outside, like the hash marks, that dude made plays at or behind the line of scrimmage, because he was fast, but he was anticipatory. And so he could just get there. I can't remember it was the third game of his career. It was a K-State or fourth game or whatever. It's like a fourth down play, and he's right there, making the play right at the line of scrimmage and driving the guy back. Ideally, you want players who can do all those things, who can make plays at, perpendicular to, or behind the line of scrimmage, because they're so fast and they're so smart. And that's Levante David. So you could just watch his tape all day and you can say, that's how it's supposed to be done. Nebraska wants guys like that. And John Bullock at times had those kind of plays. He is a dynamic player. He's a young guy, or a small guy, but really dynamic. So watch for that as well. I think Nebraska's defense could be a top 15 defense in the country, scoring and total. I think they're going to have a great defensive line. I don't know that you're going to see that entirely in the spring game, because I think some of those guys are going to sit down. But I think Nebraska's defense is going to be pretty good. Those are the things to watch. And yeah, that's going to be the three things to watch for the defense for the spring game. For the Omaha World-Herald and Husker Extra, I'm Sam McKewo'n.